So everyone, unless you're an adult, is loving Breath of the Wild, myself included.
Yeah.
Now Famitsu is kind of like the premier Japan gaming magazine. And they were interviewing Eiji Aonuma, who's the series producer. He's been the series producer for quite a while for Zelda. And he was asked if Zelda games would continue using the open world formula that we see in Breath of the Wild, or if it's going to be a one-off. And Aonuma's quote in the article is, "I think that in the future, open air games will be the standard for Zelda." Now, when I first read this, I was a little bit skeptical, just because I thought in my head, like, there are a lot of people. Believe it or not, there were some people that with Skyward Sword, they really liked the fact that everything was 1-to-1 with your sword. Like, if you did this with your sword, Link would do that with the sword, and how you swung. Actually, everything worked the way it was supposed to work on the Wii, because they did the Wii Motion Plus with that game.
Ew.
There were other things about the game that people had problems with. Like, it was very linear. There wasn't a lot of exploring allowed in the game, that sort of thing. And back then, it was they kind of asked a similar question, not with the constrictiveness of the game, but they asked
the controller.
Yeah, with the controller, they're like, "Are there ever going?" And I thought it was ridiculous then when they asked it. But they're like, "Are there ever going to be a Zelda? Is there ever going to be a Zelda game again where you just hit a button and he swings a sword?" It's like, of course they're going to do that in the future.
Yeah.
Why would not every single console or hardware that Nintendo makes is going to be motion control centered?
That would be the worst thing too, like a mobile game where you're sitting on the subway and you're like...
Well, now is the other thing. It's like, do you know that there are portable Zelda games, that they're handheld Zelda games? I don't think they're going to be doing motion sensor, although I will say in the 3DS ones, they did add the gyroscope aiming, which is fun to use.
They've got so many handheld devices just because they're cheap. Like, they're really good at making inexpensive, and I won't say that they're cheap, because Nintendo is inexpensive, but
right,
like, that doesn't equate to cheap, because cheap is more like,
And they always test their hardware to be dropped like from 4.5 feet in the air to like concrete ground like 3 times and still work.
But they don't test to warp them.
Nope, we haven't gotten that far.
Well, I think that it's a great idea to do this open world, and I'd like to see it just keep going.
Yeah.
Like, just watching it, although I really want to play it, and it makes me want to buy a Switch or a Wii U, but it makes me want to buy it just so I can play this new Zelda game. But looking at it, even though it does appear to be complex, it's still... There's something about it that seems beta, like this is just their initial.
Like, they're just gonna get better at it from here.
Yeah, their plaything. I mean, this is a very new idea for Zelda, and this is basically where they're going with it. Kind of like when Mario switched over to Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
And Mario 64 is a great, solid game, and because it was such a new environment, all the little glitches and breaks and stuff are what made the game awesome. But it's still, like, the camera angle issues and a lot of things they had. It was like a beta, and it, like, they went off of Mario 64 to a lot of different Mario games.
Sunshine, Galaxy. A lot of people love the Galaxy games.
And it's basically that same 3D environment that they've been just running into the ground with it. And I think that's
but they've
what they
perfected
found.
it.
Yeah, and I think that's what they found with this new Zelda game. Is it looks great. It looks like a great shell. It looks like something that they have finished, and it's like a good conceptual piece that they will eventually in later installments.
Almost like how Zelda 1, you can kind of look at that as a beta for like A Link to the Past, which I don't think anyone would argue is a far superior game to the first Zelda.
Yes. Yeah.
Or how, although you can't really say that about Ocarina of Time, because Ocarina of Time is like incredible still.
Ocarina of Time. But Ocarina of Time.
That does not feel like a beta.
No.
That feels like a true 2D to 3D gameplay conversion.
After like how long after Mario 64 came out? Because I think Mario 64 just integrated the Nintendo universe into the 3D, and after that, that's where Ocarina of Time kind of
like
fell
Mario
into
was kind of a beta for Zelda.
For every Nintendo 3D environment, that was like the Nintendo designers, and that was their way of priming for the initial 3D jump, and Nintendo did it the best. Sony was in second place, and Sega still cannot release a good Sonic game. They still cannot release a good Sonic game. You gotta go fast. It's like, we'll slow down.
What about the platforming? Eventually. No, go fast.
Although there is an independent Sonic game that I saw a demo of online. I can't remember
Sonic
what it is.
Mania?
No. Maybe. I
don't know. Because Sonic Mania is, not to get too off topic, but Sonic Mania is a game developed by fan developers.
Yeah.
Sanctioned by Sega.
And it's used the original Nintendo.
It's using
not Nintendo, Sega, the original Sega
all
textures and stuff.
But it's Sega-esque, but they are it's actually new sprites and a new engine and a new and it's even gonna run much smoother.
It literally looks like
and plays
3D Sega Genesis Sonic 1.
Oh, are you talking about Sonic Utopia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen that too.
Utopia is great looking. I thought
how an open world Sonic would actually work.
Yeah, and it looks fun. It looks real fun. It looks like it would work. I mean, it looks like there's a lack of complexities because they're just getting the physics down. They only have short little blips of demos, but
right. But you can go anywhere. You can, and they even have the loop to loops working in place and everything. Yeah,
and it's fast because they're not focused on. Oh well, we're gonna have the pyramids in the background and the sun's going to be setting, and it's like, stop with that. Make the game fun and then make it pretty. Once you got the fun part down, make it pretty. Look at Zelda. Look at this new Zelda game.
Well, also look at this new Zelda game. How long was it in development for? 5 years.
Yeah. And it feels like they could have made it prettier, but instead of focusing all their efforts on
how
graphics,
the game looks,
they focus on the gameplay, and it paid off very well.
And the thing about graphics and video games in general, guess what? In a few years, I don't care how good your game is going to look, it's going to start to look dated. You can minimize that by having strong art direction.
Yeah.
Because games that have good art direction don't really age.
Yeah.
You can see I haven't seen that, effect used in modern gaming.
Parappa the Rapper.
Which they just remastered, by the way, and re-released. Yeah.
That's fun. That was
everything's still flat, but it looks a lot better now.
Everything's flat, but it's not jagged. It's
right.
Smooth flat. But that was clever. And that was a good way to translate. That was Sony's way of hey, look, everything's 3D now. And it's Sony.
But it was stylized. And it worked.
Yeah, it worked. And yeah.
I'd be complete, to be honest. So kind of the way how Ocarina of Time set the groundwork for the other Zelda games, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, even Skyward Sword. It's a good. I feel like Breath of the Wild is a good starting template for okay, where else are they going to go with this? The only problem is you should probably go ahead and play Breath of the Wild, because it's probably going to be another 5 years before we get a Zelda game like this.
That's why I'm not always people focus so I have to be the first. And if you're doing with you do a lot of reviews and you're active in the community with it. And you keep people up to date. So as far as being the first for consoles and stuff, for for me, I like taking my time with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are like, oh man, the new episode of this just came out, man. Oh, it was great.
And you're just kind of like, oh, that's nice. I'll get to it.
I'll get to it. Like, and that's fun. So like by the time that I can actually put the money aside, based off of all the other goals and wants and needs and desires in life,
you feel like they'll have a new Zelda ready for you.
Yeah, and then I'll just play this one, and when I'm done with that, it's like, oh, finally, I got my little Switch. Oh, they fixed the warp and the warping screen. Cool. Yeah, do. Wow, that was a great 2 months of my life, man. If only there was there's another one coming out next week. Yes, that's my life, and my life is great.
It's funny. I own Skyward Sword. I still haven't played Skyward Sword, but I'm playing Breath of the Wild just because it's so cool. But yeah, give it a shot. I agree with you. I think that if they want to go forward using this as a template, it's a great idea.
You can Twitch it too.
Or can you?
Can you?
You can.
Good. Because I hear that some games don't let you do that anymore.
Oh boy.